Hello everyone, it's Benny, and welcome to yet another update video. Now, before I get into what I'm really making this video about, there's a few things I'd like to mention. First off, thank you very much to everyone who responded about the whole video text issue thing. I'm still not entirely sure what caused it, but what I do know is it seems to be just a freak issue with that one video, because all the other videos I've uploaded and tested seem to look just fine to me, and unless something goes wrong, hopefully this one should too. So, I think that issue sort of has resolved itself. I'm sorry if I scared anyone with that, and yeah. Second thing I'd like to mention. I've figured out recently that I have just enough time while my videos are processing to go through and comment all the code that I wrote in that particular video. So that's what I've been doing. I've been, for instance, here's the AABB class, whose video should go up on, I believe, Wednesday, and these are all the comments I've had to do on that, or I've done on that. And yeah. Now, I don't think anyone's going to argue that commenting your code is a good thing, but the reason I mention this is I've noticed that if you go into GitHub and do that trick I showed in my FAQ video about debugging, where you show the difference between two commits, the comments can kind of clog that a little bit. It can make it a little bit messy. So, basically my question is that going to be an issue for you guys? Because if it is, what I can do is I can just upload all the code changes in one commit, and then upload all the code with comments in another commit, and it'll fix that issue, but, well, then there's 2 commits per video, and that might confuse people, so I don't know. So let me know what you think about that. And yeah, so with all that out of the way, let's go and get into what I'm really making this update about. What I'm really making this update about is there are 3 new pieces of content that I've been considering doing, but I think these 3 in particular deserve a little bit of input from you guys, and I want to ask you about them. First off, something you may have already noticed is the scene you're seeing looks a little bit familiar. And indeed, I've used this for an update previously. And in that update, I talked about the issue of software rendering, which is doing 3D rendering without any external libraries or anything, just drawing pixel by pixel without any GPU stuff or anything. Just all done with software, with code written by you. And when I talked about it back then, I said I didn't think I was going to do it, for several reasons, such as it's not representative of what the GPU does, and there's not much point of doing it by itself. However, since then I've had 6 months to think about what I've said. And I've also had the opportunity to read Michael Abrash's Graphics Programming Black Book. I've had a chance to read that, and I've realized a few things. First off, the approach I used in my basic software rendering example, I basically did things the dumb way. There's a much faster, easier, more general, more simple way to do this that, well, I just wasn't doing. So that's important because that will significantly cut down the number of videos I'd need to do on software rendering if I did a series on that. Secondly, I realized it actually is fairly representative of how GPUs work, in a certain way. Here's the thing, something I didn't know when I made that video is the way the early 3D accelerators came about. Because early 3D accelerators like the 3DFX Voodoo, what they literally did is they went to a software renderer, they took the most performance-critical functions of it, slapped it on a circuit board, slapped an API over it, and boom, that was a graphics card. So, although GPUs have evolved a fair bit since then, well, knowing the starting point has a lot of benefits of its own, so there is a lot of relevance there. And for reasons such as that, I have... Oh yeah, and also, almost forgot, I realized this is a great opportunity to really just show you guys how 3D graphics really works at the low level. Because OpenGL and DirectX and stuff, they mask quite a few of the really interesting details of how it works. So, I figured this might be a good opportunity to just really dive in and show you guys how 3D graphics works at the deepest level. So, let me know if you have any interest at all in that, and if it makes any difference, if I do the series, then I'm almost certainly going to do it in Java, because that's the only language where you can really do cross-platform 3D software rendering without external libraries. Speaking of Java, a lot of people have been talking to me about the Java versus C++ issue recently. And the content of these questions varies, but ultimately they all seem to be getting at the fact that not everyone is comfortable with C++ as a language. And I've been giving this issue a lot of thought recently. And what I've ultimately come up with is, I've come to the realization that Java and C++, strictly speaking, aren't very different languages. There's a few minor syntax differences, and C++ has a few new constructs that Java doesn't, but at the end of the day, they're pretty similar. And what seems to really be tripping people up is not the difference in the language themselves. What seems to be tripping people up is that these slight new features in C++, although sometimes they don't make any difference at all, other times they can fundamentally change the way you approach certain problems. And that's really what seems to be throwing some people off, based on the people I've talked to. So, what I've been considering recently is just doing sort of a mini-series on mastering C++, which is really going to dive into a little bit of the mindset of the language, and how you can use some of the C++ specific features to efficiently approach certain problems that you might approach differently in other languages, or might work differently in other languages, or etc., those types of things. And the reason I mention this is because, well, this is just based on the people I've talked to. There might be other people, there might be like a majority of people who haven't talked to me yet and have completely different issues or different reasons. So I want to bring this up to see what people think of this, if this is in any way close to what their issue with C++ is, if they have one, and if so, would this help people out, and would you be interested in doing something like this? So I don't know, just let me know. And last but not least, I've recently been convinced that YouTube statistics are not just a bunch of ridiculous marketing nonsense, and that they can actually be a reasonably useful way of seeing and understanding how my more quiet viewers who don't like posting comments and things enjoy my videos. And you know, that is nice, because, well, of course I want to make content that's good for all my viewers, not just the ones who are always vocal about what they like. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because recently I've been going through all my old statistics and seeing what they are, and I noticed something. The single most popular event in the history of my channel, by far, was when I did my 2D RPG livestream, which is quite surprising to me because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I did that. But hey, if you guys liked it, then good. So, this has got me thinking, you know, if people really did like the live stream that much, and of course things haven't changed in 8 months for some reason, people still are interested in more live stream stuff, maybe I should do some more stuff. So, let me know if you're interested in me doing more live streams, because if so, I'll try and find a way to do it. And if you are, let me know what sort of stuff you might enjoy. What sort of things you might enjoy having me live stream. I already have one thing in particular in mind that I think you guys might like. As you may know, one of the In fact, yeah, probably the single most popular question I get asked, other than, help, my program doesn't work, what do I do? Is, hey Benny, how do you learn all these things? And unfortunately, I don't know of any magic place which just tells you all the stuff I teach, where the answer I give them is the same answer I'll tell you right now. Personal experience. I'll go through and I'll do my own research. If I hear about some new technique or something that might be good for game development, I'll go in, I'll write some programs myself, making some basic games if necessary, and just seeing how things work out. And I figured that might be interesting. It might be interesting to see me playing around with some new technique and making a basic game with that. Who knows? So, that might be something I could live stream. It wouldn't be any extra burden or anything because I'm doing it anyways, but, just figured I'd bring that up. And, of course, if you want to see someone do something different, I can do that too. Just let me know. If people really are interested in that, well, I'll be glad to find some way to do it. So that's all I really wanted to cover in this video. So, thank you. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned. And if you have any opinions or questions, comments, anything about stuff I've talked about in this video, please let me know. That's what this video is for.